This meeting of the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach is now in session. This is our formal meeting format. At this time, I ask that my colleagues and everyone in attendance please silence their electronic devices and phones. I ask my colleagues to acknowledge their presence on the voting board. Please note in the minutes that Mrs. Holtz and Mrs. Weems are absent this evening. Please rise as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do not have any awards or recognitions this evening. Dr. Spence, we look forward to hearing the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair, you missed a moment of silence.
Yes, we did. Thank you. This time I'm asking everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Spence, we look forward to hearing the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairwoman Anderson and members of the board. I'm again excited for this opportunity to share with our community 5 things to know this month. At number 1, I'd like to thank all of our staff members and students who showed their support of our military families for the Remember Everyone Deployed Day, or Red Day. Throughout the division, it was a wave of red last Friday, which was a wonderful visual representation of the appreciation and pride we have for the thousands of military families that are in this school division. And it was an appropriate and fitting site leading into Veterans Day weekend. To see photos from this day, visit the VB Schools Facebook page. Second, as a reminder, this Saturday will be the Beach Girls Rock Workshop, the first Beach Girls Rock Workshop of the year, which will take place at Princess Anne High School. Our female students in grades 5 through 8 are invited and encouraged to come to this special event where they will have specifically designed breakout sessions led by Princess Anne juniors and seniors. Parents are also encouraged to come to the event for their own Parent Institute on Saturday morning. Registration is still open in school counseling offices, and for more information, families are encouraged to reach out to their school and their school counselors. Third, our incredible community has once again overwhelmingly answered the call for support in our schools. The totals have been compiled from our fall Beach Bags Drive, which was held in more than 70 participating schools, as well as full-day drop-off location at Pembroke Mall. In all total, more than 6 tons of food was donated during the drive and more than $8,000. So thank you to everyone who took part in the drive and who helped support our students and our families in need. At number 4, 8th grade families interested in applying for academies should note that applications are now being accepted. In addition to last month's Navigating the Journey event, each academy, as well as our career and technical education centers, are hosting open house and information nights throughout this month and early December to give prospective students greater insight into those programs. Applications are being accepted through January 9th, and for more information, visit vbschools.com. And at number 5 tonight is a reminder that schools will have an adjusted dismissal next Wednesday, November 21st, and we will be closed Thursday and Friday celebrating Thanksgiving. I, for one, am both grateful and thankful to be a part of this incredible school division and to work alongside our outstanding board, administrators, staff members, and teachers each and every single day. And I hope all of our families and staff will have a terrific Thanksgiving holiday together, coming back ready to finish out this year strong. Before I close out my report tonight, I do just want to address something that's been weighing on my hearts, and I know the minds of many in our community. I, like many of you, was heartbroken to hear of the latest mass shooting that took place last week in California. Seeing the images of those victims, mostly young adults, some just barely out of high school, was particularly upsetting as a parent and a former principal and certainly as superintendent. The borderline shooting was even more bewildering because it was just 2 weeks ago that I attended an interfaith gathering here in Virginia Beach to honor the 11 killed in the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, men and women who were murdered in their place of worship. People from across our community came together and stood in unity against hate, and it was powerful to witness and be a part of. One of the speakers at that event talked about this being a dangerous moment in our country, and in fact, the news there barely finished covering the last of the Tree of Life funeral services before moving on to coverage of the events in California. This was unfortunately a scene that's been too frequent in our communities, but also in our schools, as we all know about Parkland and Santa Fe, Sandy Hook, and Columbine. So why am I bringing this up tonight? Well, I just want to say to our schools and our community, I have a deep belief that as educators, we can change these outcomes, that we have an imperative to seize this opportunity with our students, to engage with them in thoughtful dialogue. In our classrooms and in our hallways, we have the chance to model inclusivity, collaboration, and empathy for one another. And I would say if you walk through our schools on any day, you'll see this in action. You'll see children from all races, faiths, and socioeconomic backgrounds walking and learning and laughing together, and that gives me hope. Because as schools are microcosms of our society, we can point again and again to the power, strength, and success of diversity, and of discourse, and of grace. So we'll continue to do our part and find ways to enhance these efforts as well as bolstering our mental health offering. We all, community members, educators, parents, and students, need to come together to fight this fight because, quite simply, our children today deserve a future that is free of these kinds of tragedies. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. That completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Spence. Madam Clerk, I see in my notes that we have no speakers on the agenda items this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our October 23rd meeting. The motion is made by Mrs. Rye, seconded by Mrs. Melnick. The voting board is open. The October 23rd minutes have been approved. Please note that Mrs. McLeod and Mr. McDonald abstained due to their absence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening. The motion is made by Mrs. Felton, seconded by Mrs. Manning. The voting board is open.
Madam Chair, did you want to clarify the workshops going after the meeting?
Yes, we probably should do that. So we had a closed session that started at 4, is that correct? Or at 4:15? So our workshops will be conducted after the formal meeting this evening. And we will also have another closed session this evening after the formal meeting. So do we need to adjust the agenda? Okay. So,
So moved as amended.
I'll second that.
Mrs. McLeod has seconded. The voting board is open. The agenda has been adopted as amended. The consent agenda has 3 resolutions. The chair recognizes Mrs. Felton to read the resolution for Native American Heritage Month.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution for Native American Heritage Month, November 2018. Whereas the first people to inhabit North America, American Indians and Alaskan Natives have profoundly shaped our country's character and cultural heritage. And whereas Native Americans were the first people to desiccate crops, build cities and communities, and establish great civilization in America. And whereas the history, culture, and tradition of the United States have been greatly influenced by those individuals. And whereas through the study of the contributions of Native American students will encounter role models whose commitments and achievements embody the American spirit and ideals. And whereas the school board of the City of Virginia Beach, through its core values, emphasizes the importance of multicultural diversity education within our school division. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the school board of the City of Virginia Beach officially recognize the month of November 2018 as National Native American Heritage Month, and be further resolved that the school board of the City of Virginia Beach encourages all citizens to support and to participate in the various school activities during National Native American Heritage Month. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of this board.
Thank you, Mrs. Felton. The chair recognizes Mr. Edwards to read the National Military Family Month resolution.
National Military Family Appreciation Month, November 2018. Whereas our country owes our daily freedoms to the members of the armed forces, their family members, and loved ones who share their service and sacrifice. And whereas we celebrate the exceptional service, strength, and character of approximately 18,000 military connected students and families in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. And whereas we acknowledge that military families face unique challenges due to deployment, reintegration, service in combat zones, and frequent relocations based on duty assignments. And whereas the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach reaffirms their commitment to providing the resources and programs to support military-connected students academically, socially, and emotionally. And whereas Virginia Beach City Public School Board's Compass to 2020 strategic plan calls for the continued creation of opportunities for military families and community members to purposely partner with schools in supporting student achievement, aspirations, and social emotional development. And whereas November is recognized as National Military Family Appreciation Month, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach officially recognizes the month of November 2018 as National Military Family Appreciation Month, and be it further resolved that the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach encourages all school staff and community members to initiate, support, and participate in appreciation activities designed to recognize the exceptional role and unique sacrifices of our military-connected youth make in our nation's best interest. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the minutes, official minutes of this board.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The chair recognizes Mrs. Riggs to read the resolution for American Education Week.
Resolution for American Education Week, November 12th through 16th, 2018. Whereas November 12th through 16th, 2018 is recognized as the 97th Annual American Education Week by the National Education Association to celebrate public education and honor individuals who are making a difference in ensuring that every child receives a quality education, and whereas the creation of this week has encouraged resolutions across the country to help encourage national support of public education, and whereas American Education Week is the celebration of distinguished individuals critical to the success of public education for the nation's nearly 50 million K-12 students, and whereas the National Education Association calls for a week observed in all communities annually for the purpose of informing the public of the accomplishments and needs of the public schools to secure the cooperation and support of the public in meeting those needs. And whereas the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach is focused on encouraging and recognizing the support for public education, and whereas Virginia Beach City Public Schools is committed to its relationships with the community and stakeholders through Compass to 2020 to increase public support and involvement in education. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach designates the week of November 12th through the 16th, 2018 as American Education Week in the Virginia Beach City Public Schools, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of this board.
Thank you, Mrs. Riggs. Also on the consent agenda are religious exemptions that were part of our agenda packet. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Mrs. McLeod has made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Melnick. The voting board is open. The consent agenda has been approved. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the personnel and administrative appointments. The motion is made by Ms. Melnick, seconded by Mrs. McLeod. Is there discussion? Seeing none, the voting board is open. Dr. Spence, would you like to introduce any new administrators this evening?
Well, I appreciate that, Madam Chairwoman. We do have one person who was approved this evening, Nanette Keenan, but I don't believe she was able to get here tonight, and so we'll find an opportunity to introduce her at a later time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the budget transfers. Motion is made by Mrs. Riggs, seconded by Ms. McLeod. Is there discussion? Mrs. Manning?
Yeah, I just had a question on the line item for Chromebooks for kindergarten classrooms, $564,000. Who do I ask?
So
Is
I'll
that-
take
Is that
that.
a one-to-one initiative?
It's
for
it's not
kindergarten?
one-to-one in kindergarten. It's to provide access to carts in kindergarten classrooms. With the concern that had come forward from the schools was that we had been providing those to the full-day kindergarten classrooms, but not the half-day classrooms. And so this is to make sure that the half-day classrooms also have access to carts.
So they don't have any computers right now?
Correct. Well, just, what would be placed in the classroom, a couple of desktops maybe.
So that, may I ask, so are you saying that the half-day kindergartens will now have access to carts?
Yes.
That have computers on them and not just the iPads?
Correct.
Okay.
So how many is that, 564,000? Is that, it seems like a lot. Is that one for every student, or?
I think it's 12 on a cart. I believe it's 12 on a cart, so 12 per classroom on a cart. Yep.
Okay.
And let me just mention, Farrell apologizes for not being here. He's over with City Council right now. And if you have questions about the nature of any of the other transfers, I'll take those as well.
Okay. Are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, the voting board is open. The motion is passed. Our first information item is for the Environmental Studies program that we heard about in our October 23rd workshop. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, board members, and Dr. Spence. We are here this evening with a formal proposal for an environmental studies program to be located at the Brock Environmental Program. Oh, sorry. Thank you. The proposed environmental studies program aligns directly with Compass to 2020. Aligned to Goal 1, the environmental studies program will ensure high academic expectations are in place for all students. Inquiry and experiential learning in the field, along with engaging in the work of scientists, will provide a multitude of academic opportunities for students that will directly impact their work. Multiple pathways are reinforced through career exploration and experience, senior independent study research project that starts during the junior year, and advanced coursework as well. Course offerings are structured around personalized learning experiences, enhancing the social and emotional development for each student. Students enrolled in this program will experience high levels of rigor, engagement during their junior and senior years through a personalized research project. This program fosters and expands the culture of growth and excellence that already exists across the division. Establishing a one-of-a-kind community partnership will provide students learning opportunities beyond the traditional classroom setting. Taking a closer look at the student's course of study and progression through this program, students will follow the same conceptual schedule as they currently do for the Advanced Technology Center and the Technical and Career Education Center. During the winter of their sophomore year, they would apply for a spot in the Environmental Center program and attend for a half day of instruction each day of their junior and senior year, earning 3 credits a year while at the Brock Center. 11th grade students would focus on 2 full-year courses and 2 semester classes that would have fully integrated curriculum across all areas. By the end of their junior year, students would have credit for AP Environmental Science, Sustainability, Core Concepts in Environmental Systems as the full credit courses, with Natural Resource Management and Watershed Hydrology as half credit courses. Following a successful junior year, students would take a course on topical research integrated with their senior independent study project to earn their credits. The AP Environmental Science and the Topical Research courses will also have the option for students to utilize the AP Capstone courses offered across the division as an integrated part of their work. During this time, students will connect with local partners to plan and conduct their research and create a meaningful impact within our region. Over the past couple of years, while developing this program, we have established many partnerships with local and national organizations who are excited to support this work. As seen on this slide and included on letters of support within the board packet, organizations from institutions of higher education to a local beekeepers association will offer students unique learning experiences. This slide outlines the proposed timeline for this program. During the first year, there would be one teaching coordinator on site with a class of 50 students, 25 in the morning and 25 in the afternoon session. The teaching coordinator would also be responsible for developing the curriculum for year 2, as well as reaching out to the community for support to create opportunities for our seniors to have many on-site experiences. During the second year, we would add a second teacher to work with seniors in their research project. During the second year and beyond, there would be 100 students in the program, 50 juniors and 50 seniors. This slide shows the proposed budget impact for the program. Without hiring a coordinator for the program until July 1 of 2020, there would be a need for a curriculum development and professional development fund to prepare courses for the first year of implementation. Once fully established with the teaching coordinator and a full-time teacher, the recurring cost would be just under $280,000 a year. Thank you for considering this proposal. I have with me Amanda Malvin, our secondary science coordinator, to assist with any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Ms. McLeod?
Thank you. My questions revolve around the budget. And so if you, and I know that with my absence last, I didn't, and I know that some money has come available for the building purchase. And so taking the $279,000, luckily this is easy math for me, although I pulled my calculator out anyway, we're basically spending an additional $2,700 per student for the program, because the yearly cost will be $280,000 and there's 100 students each year when it's in complete form. I know that for the Governor School of the Arts, we spent about $3,500 additional per student. But for all of our academies, is this a good rough estimate of what we spend additional for those students who are in an academy?
So this is a little higher than the academy. It's a little lower than the ATC and the Tech Center. And actually, when we did the numbers for the GSA, when you include transportation, it's upwards, I think, of $6,800. I can't remember the exact, but
Yeah.
it's pricey as well.
Okay.
So it's not out of the ballpark.
So for putting GSA aside, it's pretty normal for the rest of our academies that we spend additional per those students in the academy.
It's higher, I would say it's higher than the academy programs,
you did
but
say that, I'm
lower than
sorry.
the ATC and the Tech Center.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Mrs. Manning?
So I asked this question the last time, and it's about transportation and just making sure that our transportation department can handle this. I know they do a fantastic job, but they've got a lot to do. So-
I praise our transportation department, because every time I've gone with them with a, hey, I'd like to do this, they're like, we can do it. Mr. Blair's here as well this evening, and he cringed at the thought when he heard it again, but he has assured me that they are ready to go. He's updated the plan, and we've looked at how we can transport on the best budgetary way possible, and they're ready to go.
And we're going to have enough bus drivers.
Well, we never have.
I know, and that's my concern. That is my concern. You're going to make sure we have enough bus drivers.
It's really a minimal impact to the system we already have in place.
You need to come up. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This program is it's a small program, and it will really have a minimal impact on the programs that we have. And a lot of it we're going to incorporate into existing academy programs, like we're going to share services with the First Colonial Legal Studies busing to cut down on the cost avenue we have. So all we're really talking about is some midday shuttles.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
I like that they're incorporating it with a system that we already have in place.
Absolutely.
I think that's wonderful. Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Melnick, I'm sorry.
Actually,
Missed you.
will juniors and seniors are able to drive? Is there parking for them to drive themselves if they
So we're working on that. There is some parking there. It is tight, but we're working on what that would look like and how we could accommodate some of the students driving. That would also save us some funds.
Mrs. Rye.
So I just want to share with the public, because we had a much lengthier presentation at the workshop just before the election day. So for those public members who would be interested in that more thorough presentation, it's archived on the website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you. I think that was it. Our next information item is on school start times. We were given a packet of materials to refresh our memories from the workshop on October 27th, and that we had, and we also several of those materials were from our retreat on July 18th. I hope everyone had a chance to read those materials and review them. Mr. Keever, welcome.
Good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, school board members, and Dr. Spence. As a result of our October workshop session around this topic, this evening we intend to provide the board with an opportunity to more formally revisit the issue of school start times. After a brief reminder of the timeline associated with the start times discussion, I'll review the 2017 stakeholder survey data, offer some next steps, and share a draft resolution, which I believe is in your packet. At that point, we will respond to questions from the board. In order to set the stage for our review of the data, please allow me to offer several reminders of the timeline and process that guided our work. It's available for you on this slide. With Dr. Spence's arrival to Virginia Beach as superintendent, the board asked administration to look at the topic of school start times. During the 15-16 school year, School Bus Consultants was hired to complete a study of the transportation system with regard to potentially shifting the start times. In addition, administration worked with our partners at Hanover Research to commission a literature review around the relationship between school start times and academic achievement. Both the transportation study and the lit review were completed in the spring of 2016. During the board's summer retreat in 2016, a determination was made to include the school start times discussion on the January 2017 mid-school year school board retreat. During that retreat, the transportation study was reviewed with school board members. In order to ensure the body had appropriate information and data to determine potential next steps, the board asked for a survey of stakeholders to be conducted. Stakeholder survey results were shared with the board in June of 2017. During the July 2017 retreat, there seemed to be board support for the shifting of start times until the cost of adding field lights was discussed. As a result of the field light discussion, administration worked to develop a phase funding approach to help get the lights added. In October of this year, during a discussion on reversion funding, the board requested an opportunity to revisit the issue in a more formal setting. Turning to the results of the survey, I want to remind you that the survey was based on best practice examples, and there were three critical parts to the 2017 survey of our stakeholders. The first part was to determine what stakeholders considered most important when looking at a preferred school schedule and seeking input on the current level of satisfaction with our start times as a school division. We wanted to directly ask if there was support for developing a schedule that allowed adolescent students to start school later. And in the third place, we wanted to determine the agreement level with specific statements around perceived positive and perceived negative impacts of a shift in start times. 3 stakeholder groups were asked to provide input on the topic. All Virginia Beach City Public School parents, all Virginia Beach City Public School staff, and students at the time who are currently in grades 6 through 12. The survey was available to folks from March 27th through April 21st of 2017. As a reminder, the survey formats reviewed by the board were built on similar stakeholder input sessions and surveys from a variety of school communities who had been studying the issue of start times. Naperville, Illinois, Williamsport Area School District in Pennsylvania, as well as Barrington 220 in Illinois are examples. As you can see from the current slide, nearly 8,000 parents and just over 3,000 staff members completed the survey. Please note that parents could select multiple levels where they currently had students enrolled. 7,846 parents responded. 54% indicated that they had a student in elementary school, 42% in middle school, and 45% reported they had a high school student. For the staff survey, we asked respondents to identify their current work levels as demonstrated on the graphic. I think it's also important to note, as I noted in the workshop when we got together in October, that the response rates for this particular survey, from our perspective, were better than some of the other surveys that we utilized. For instance, the 17-18 school calendar survey garnered 1,267 responses, and the grading practices survey that we did in 15-16 had just over 1,600 responses. Student voice was also an important facet of the stakeholder survey effort. Over 20,000 students participated in this particular survey. Their grade levels are provided on this graphic. As I reminded you in October, I'll remind you again, some students did not indicate or designate their grade level. As such, the totals don't add up exactly. But I will say that when you combine the student voice with staff and parent participation, we received over 31,000 responses to the questions that we asked around start times. The survey was designed to help us fully understand the key factors for each stakeholder group in determining a preferred school schedule. We asked survey participants to rank, in order of importance, the most key features from their perspective. The options provided to parents included students' health and sleep, academic performance, before and after school care, a parent's work schedule, timing of athletics and activity events, transportation availability other than the school bus, and the parent's child's part-time job. Staff members were given the same options with the exception of the child's part-time job, and students were given 4 options: health and sleep, academic performance, transportation availability, and timing of athletic events. The rankings that each group provided are detailed on the slide. The red box denotes similarities across the 3 groups with regard to the top 2 items: health and sleep and academic performance. Parents identified transportation as their 3rd highest priority, while staff ranked their personal work schedule as the 3rd highest priority. As you'll note, students rated the timing of athletics and activity events as their 3rd highest priority. Transitioning from the key factors in the preferred school schedule, we wanted to gauge stakeholder perceptions around medical research on adolescent sleep and school start times. Agreement level amongst the 3 groups to the prompt listed on the slide was 71% or better, with parent agreement levels reaching nearly 80%. As referenced in the discussion around the critical parts of the survey, determining parent and student agreement levels with the concept of being currently satisfied with our school start times was also important. 36% of the responding parents agreed or strongly disagreed with the concept of being satisfied with our current start times. The agreement level decreases from 39% of elementary school parents to 31% of high school parents. For our students, 66% agreed or strongly agreed with the idea of being satisfied with their current start times. Please know that we did not ask staff to respond to this item, though if applicable, they had the option to respond as a parent. On a staff survey, there was a specific staff question around remaining in their current work location should the start times in that particular building change. As I noted for you in October, nearly 88% of the staff indicated that if the operational hours in their school changed, they intended to remain in their current school. For students, we ask for self-reporting on the average amount of sleep students get during weeknights. The largest percentage of middle school respondents indicated getting 8 or more hours of sleep during the week, whereas at the high school level, the largest percentage, which was 28% of those students, reported 6 or more hours of sleep during weeknights. On this slide, you will note agreement levels for the stakeholder groups around the critical question of supporting an effort by Virginia Beach City Public Schools to develop a schedule that allows for later start times for adolescents. Overall, 71% of parents agreed or strongly agreed with the idea. 64% of staff was in agreement, and 60% of our students were in agreement. One final area in the survey comes around the perceived positive and negative impacts on the potential shift in start times for adolescents. There was agreement around the perception that later start times for adolescents could improve academic performance. 74% of parents, 68% of staff, and 66% of students agreed or strongly agreed with this idea. The highest level of agreement with the 3 groups, all in the 70% range or higher, was around the idea of later school start times for adolescents having a positive impact on both sleep and health. This is a slide that we provided for the board during your workshop session in October. You'll note some potential next steps that we laid out for you. The the next round of this becomes a resolution that you have in the packet that I will advance to, it is particularly difficult, I think, to read. I don't know if somebody would like to read that out loud, or we can move straight on to the question and answer phase.
Would you like someone to read that out loud?
It is your preference, Madam Chair.
I'm not sure, could we? I think maybe when it's put to a vote, maybe then we will read it out loud.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, that one.
Yes.
Would you like to read that one out loud?
I'd be happy to. In November, the school board will take action to direct administration that start times for adolescent students will be later, beginning in September 2020 for the 2020-2021 school year. It would be our goal in the winter and spring to, based on school board action, to develop and engage the community in some best possible options that we would bring back to the board in July of 2019 at your retreat. Then asking for you to take action in September, giving our community approximately a year to get ready for a shift in times.
I think for me, based on school board action, administration will engage the community in dialogue is very important, and because I feel like the community really needs to have some dialogue and letting us know if we decide to move forward with this, how they want us to proceed, whether they want us to flip or what times they would be willing to go with or whatever, especially for the elementary school. It really concerns me, and I know it will for some people that elementary students will be out there very early as well. So I encourage people to, let us know and engage in the dialogue, especially if you're doing a survey or whatever.
One of the things that we talked about in October was that we would work administratively to develop some best possible options and take those to the community, whether it be via forums or large community groups, and ask for feedback on those options.
Okay.
Not whether or not we make the shift, that the action of the resolution would direct administration to bring forward a shift in times.
Yes, thank you. Ms. McLeod.
And that's actually the point, that we would decide, that our action the next meeting on the 27th would determine this going forward. So we're saying we would agree to it, and then we would have community input on the actual times. You will do an online portion, though, we've had such good response. So will you be able to create a survey in a potentially, or can we direct you to? Because we've just had really good, top choices. We've had good response. The reason why you had 10,000 people respond to this is because they've had the online option, and they didn't have to choose whether they went to gymnastics class or they went to a community forum. They were able to do both.
We would endeavor to do several different methods, or utilize several different methods to get feedback on the options that we felt like were most doable for the school division.
Thank you.
If I could, just for clarification, because we've been down this road. So we're using the term from the administrative perspective that we would be seeking feedback, not input. And so it's been said, input's been said from the dais once or twice. So again, I just want to be clear, we would be presenting a set of options that we would be asking the community to react to versus coming up with a set of options on the front end. So we would be preparing those administratively based on options, frankly, that the board's already seen that came out of the transportation study.
Thank you. Mrs. Rye.
That was my question about the consultant options. Thank you.
Are there any other discussion? Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Keever.
Thank you.
Next, we have information about textbook adoptions for vocational relations and practical nursing 1 and 2. Welcome, Dr. Pope.
Good evening, Chairman Anderson, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm here this evening to provide you with information regarding the Textbook Adoption Committee selection for practical nursing. The textbook recommended for consideration is scheduled for implementation in the fall of 2019. Before presenting our recommendations, I'd like to thank Family and Consumer Science Coordinator Kathleen Vuno, committee members, and industry experts for dedicating their time and efforts to choose the best textbook for our students. I should note for the board that because of accreditation requirements, the practical nursing textbooks must not have a copyright date of more than 5 years old. Therefore, the adoption process for practical nursing textbooks is conducted more frequently than other courses that we offer. We have proposed a 5-year adoption for the practical nursing courses. On the screen, you see the recommended first choice textbook selection. The committee has selected Success in Practical Vocational Nursing as its first choice. This text meets all of the national standards as well as VDOE competencies. The text is written through the lens of practical nursing and provides authentic simulation and role-play scenarios, includes chapters on spirituality and culture, in addition to providing extensive National Council licensure examination, the national exam for practical nursing license. This slide outlines the cost implications for the initial and total implementation of the first choice textbook for the course. The total cost involved for the first year of the implementation will be approximately $2,000, and the total 5-year implementation cost would be just under $2,500. Thank you for your consideration of the committee's recommendations. I have with me this evening members of the Textbook Adoption Committee and Kathleen Vuno, Family and Science Coordinator, and Sarah Lockett, the Director of Technical Career Education, and we'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? Discussion? Mrs. Rye?
Yes, for the benefit of the public and a reminder to the rest of us, what is our nursing enrollment?
We have about, I think, 20 students enrolled in the course. It's 40, 20 level 1, 20 level 2.
Thank you.
No problem.
Mrs. Melnick?
And so I would go along with anything you say since they boast a 100% pass rate all the time. So that's really
We appreciate that.
that's awesome.
And they are highly rated. I think last year we were #1 in the nation.
We were.
So definitely highly rated. Thank you, Dr. Pope.
Thank you.
Our next informational item is on the new secondary courses. And you're back.
I'm back. So instead of giving you 5 separate presentations for the courses, I have merged the presentations together into one. So at the end, I'm happy to go back and forth to any questions you may have about specific courses. So good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm here this evening again to provide you with information regarding additional several course proposals at the secondary level. Tonight's presentation focuses on updating technical and career education offerings in our secondary schools and centers, as well as adding a core science offering for secondary students. It will include 4 new courses: Pharmacy Tech 1 and 2 for the Technical and Career Center, Technology Transfer Capstone, and Environmental Science for secondary schools, a replacement course, Digital Applications, for our traditional Keebiting course, and a year-long Economics and Personal Finance course that will replace our current semester offerings and allow us to offer this course as an online option. So first, Pharmacy Tech 1 and 2. Pharmacy Tech 1 is a double-block, year-long, 3-credit optional course proposed on behalf of the Virginia Beach Technical and Career Education Center for students interested in pursuing a career in the field. This course is designed to meet all state regulations and testing for licensed pharmacy technicians. This course will prepare students for a career after high school and includes classroom instruction, lab practice, reflections on the Pharmacy Act and the Drug Control Act of the Code of Virginia, sections 54.1, chapters 33 to 34, if you want to look that up later. This course promotes skills that will prepare students for the nationally registered certified pharmacy technician examination or the certified pharmacy technician examination. Students who successfully complete this course may be eligible for Virginia licensure as a pharmacy tech. Student skills will be enhanced by participation in work-based learning activities and or the Health Occupation Students of America. In preparation for a growing program, we also ask for the approval of Pharmacy Tech 2 as an option to prepare for further expansion of the program. We're coming to the board a year in advance for approval, as this course will take additional time to be fully prepared to offer. This slide shows the impact for the implementation of the new Pharmacy Tech 1 course. The largest cost is for the additional full-time employee beginning during the 1920 school year to design the program, seek accreditation, and prepare to teach the course. Other new expenses related to the addition of this course will include curriculum development, training, and equipment. Funding for this for the course materials is guaranteed through two funding streams, the Carl Perkins Grant and the VDOE state equipment funding for CTE programs. Next is the proposed year-long technology transfer capstone. This course would serve as a sequential elective and career and technical series completer for the Technology Foundation course currently offered at Salem High School. The series of courses is inquiry-based and provides opportunities for students to acquire skills and knowledge necessary for technological literacy, entry-level careers, and lifelong learning. Students in this capstone offering will delve more deeply into their engineering design process as they explore applying existing technologies in the new environments. The experience builds a bridge for students between previously acquired educational skills and their relevancy in the real world. Students will experience peak, purposeful, essential skills and mindsets agency and deeply retain knowledge as they explore design, create, and publish in their transfer capstone projects incorporating research, communication skills, problem-solving design, and real-world work experience. The course focuses on making connections to life outside the classroom and creating solutions to local, state, national, and global challenges. The technology transfer capstone would be a year-long credit-bearing course that can be taught by current TCE certified teachers. There is no budget in CapPack for this course, and we are planning on using and creating open educational resources for this class, so therefore there'd be no need for a textbook for this course. Next, we'd like for the board to consider offering environmental science as a high school credit science course. This course could be offered as a proposed replacement to earth science, especially in 8th grade. Environmental science is a field-based course that has no associated standards of learning end of course test. Since the VDOE has listed biology as the high school science assessment for the Every Student Succeeds Act, and current 9th grade students only need one verified science credit to meet graduation requirements, students would no longer have the need for the verified credit in earth science. This course would offer an entry into an additional pathway for students and could count towards earning the seal for excellence in science and the environment on their diploma. Environmental science would be a year-long credit-bearing course that can be taught by current earth science or biology teachers. The budget for this course is minimal and can be created from current funding in the teaching and learning budget. We're planning on using and creating, again, open educational resources for this class. Therefore, there is no expectation for a textbook for this class. Next, we'd like the board to consider the addition of digital applications. The Virginia Department of Education anticipates retiring the traditional keyboarding courses used in Virginia Beach at the end of the current school year. This change impacts keyboarding and keyboarding applications offered to 8th through 12th grade students for high school credit. Tonight, we recommend replacing keyboarding with a new digital applications course. This semester course includes keyboarding skill building and will utilize current software and instructional materials already in place. Digital application expands learning to include new input technologies such as voice recognition and explores online productivity and collaboration tools that will set students up for success in our digital world. Although some students receive high school credit for keyboarding applications in the 8th grade, enrollment has decreased over time. Desktop multimedia and web technologies is already taught in its place at many high schools. Therefore, we further recommend opening this elective to 8th grade students to replace the opportunity for high school credit that is lost with the retirement of keyboarding applications. The net effect of these changes is one fewer semester offering with very little budget impact. Any cost associated with the developing curriculum for the new course and associated changes is included in the current budget for the Office of Technical and Career Education. Finally, we are requesting a course for a year-long option of economics and personal finance as a single block course to replace the current semester offerings at all high school locations. The course is designed to combine our current semesters of economics and financial management beginning in the 1920 school year. Like current semester options, the combined course allows students to explore how economies and markets operate and how the United States economy is interconnected with the global economy, as well as how to navigate the financial decisions they will face as adults. Benefits of combining the two semesters include flexibility for pacing, flexibility for scheduling, credentialing testing, added opportunities to remediate and attempt the WISE exam, and an opportunity to add this course to our online offerings. Any cost associated with developing the curriculum for the new course and associated changes is included in the current budget in the Office of Technical and Career Education. Thank you for your time this evening and for your consideration of these courses. At this time, I have with me Dr. Lockett, the Director of TCE, and Ms. Malvin, our Secondary Science Coordinator, to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards?
The combining of the classes, the
Econ and
econ and personal finance, it seems like that's a significant reduction in flexibility for, I mean, personal finance is a required, you gotta have it, right?
They both are.
And econ is
Correct.
not.
We're one of the, they're both required courses.
They
and
are
we're
both
one of-
required?
Yeah, we're one of the few divisions, I think we're one of only 2 divisions that does this offering in semester, in a semester system. The combination of the course will actually allow us to intertwine the personal finance with the economics as well, which is a stronger learning experience for the students.
Okay, I understand. I did not know econ was required.
Absolutely.
So it's, okay, thanks.
No problem.
Thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Thank you. My question piggybacks. Will we still offer it by semester in case there are students who that does fit their schedule better?
So we will. We're not going to take that off the books. The other thing that we offer is a dual enrollment economics on TCC's campus.
Right.
And eventually if we have teachers certified at our campus, but that doesn't equate to the personal finance side. So we still want to have that offering to make sure that we can fulfill all students' needs.
Is the online version already ready and being used?
It's being used in many divisions, so it's ready to go. And once, if approved, then we would want to put that in place actually this summer.
Fantastic, because I mean, that was one of the proudest moments back in 11 when we got that
Mm-hmm.
approved, and I have actually had students graduate who said, "I am so glad. I hated it at the time, but I'm so glad because I'm making better decisions
Mm-hmm.
now." So I'm really glad we're doing that. The digital applications, will that improve? I mean, heck, the kids they keyboarding with their thumbs, but the keyboarding, since we're changing it and using more, so will that provide certification opportunity there where they might be able to actually apply for some certifications?
So for
from
that
those?
direct course, no. However, they could tie that to MOS certification later on, Microsoft Office Systems
That's what I was
certifications.
wondering, yeah.
So, but for that direct course, not necessarily.
Okay, and then regarding the technology transfer capstone, is that just Salem only?
So Salem
confused
started
me.
offering a course that we've had on the books for a while this year. And in order to have a completer, we need the capstone course, but it's a course that we'd look to have more schools start offering. It's a different way of teaching the technology education.
Because I think you said it was an ATC person that we already have that could teach it.
No, any
Yeah.
TCE certified teacher is qualified to teach it. So anybody who currently teaches a technical and career education course is certified to teach that course as well.
Okay, that's where I was confused. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
No problem.
Mrs. Rye?
So it's hard to pick a favorite among all these, but the one that has gone unmentioned, I will mention the environmental science. And I'm happy to see, because I did confirm earlier today with Dr. Paul that AP environmental science was the one opportunity presently offered in the division. So to open this up to so many more students, and at the middle school level too, and the timing with the Brock Academy couldn't be, it's just serendipity in a lot of
Absolutely.
ways.
It's fortuitous for sure.
And I was also assured that the overlap with earth science is sufficient enough that for those students who choose to substitute, it'll still ultimately benefit them.
Correct. It meets the same graduation requirement as earth science does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rye. Those were words out of my mouth as well. I was thrilled to see that you were going to do environmental science as well. Mr. Edwards?
The pharmacy tech course, go over again for me, please, where we're going to teach it.
It'll be at the Technical and Career Education Center.
Okay. Is there any thought to providing that as, including that in the stream at Bayside? It seems like the non-college bound medical academy, medical sciences academy would be a logical place to offer that as well.
So it's something we could look at. You're talking about for the Health Sciences Academy?
Yes.
So it's something we could definitely look at. One of the things I'd have to check is the credit requirements versus the credit requirements they have built into the academy. But it's certainly also a stream that we could, sort of like what we do with the EBA at Kempsville. The business information technology students go to the ATC, for the ATC for courses. We could do the same matching there as well. But we have also have thoughts of some other updated courses that offer better certifications for those students too at HSA.
I'm excited by that course because I think we can all just look around and see the growing need for, staffing all those drugstores just keep popping up. So.
Every corner, that's right.
Any other discussion or questions? Thank you.
All right, thank
Dr.
you.
Pope. Next, on our list, on our agenda is information on the comprehensive evaluation about an Achievable Dream Academy.
Good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm Dr. Allison Bach, a program evaluation specialist in the Office of Research and Evaluation. Tonight, I'll provide an overview of the key findings and recommendations from the comprehensive evaluation of an Achievable Dream Academy at SeaTech Elementary School for the 2017-2018 school year, when the program reached full implementation from kindergarten to grade 5. The full evaluation report you received in your agenda materials provides additional details. As a brief background, VBCPS signed a contract with an Achievable Dream Incorporated in 2013 to open an Achievable Dream Academy, which offers students an extended day and school year along with a specialized curriculum. An Achievable Dream Academy was first implemented for kindergarten through 2nd grade at SeaTech Elementary School during 2014-2015. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades were each added during the years noted on the slide. This school year, 6th grade was added at Lynn Haven Middle as a school within a school. As a reminder, a comprehensive evaluation report was presented to the school board last fall based on implementation in grades K through 4. The 2017-2018 comprehensive evaluation focused on the program's operational components, student characteristics, progress toward goals, stakeholder perceptions, and the additional cost. Information was obtained from a review of websites and documents, meetings with program managers, the VBCPS data warehouse, staffing reports, and surveys. Survey response rates for each stakeholder group are shown on the slide. In addition, matched group analyses were conducted to assess program effectiveness, where an Achievable Dream Academy students were matched with students from comparable or nearby schools based on demographic characteristics. The first evaluation question focused on the operational components of the program, and key aspects are noted on the slide. The extended day provided to 1st through 5th grade students added 1 hour 20 minutes Monday through Thursday for academics and clubs. At least 80% of staff, parents, and students agreed additional learning opportunities were provided during the extended day. However, due to concerns about students arriving home late, a suggestion provided by staff was to change the school schedule from a B school to an A school, which would shift start and end times by 30 minutes. Other program opportunities provided to students in grades K through 5 included a 4-week summer intersession for additional instructional time and 66 field trips during 17-18. Community partnerships and the mentorship program provided students with role models and mentors who worked with students on a weekly basis. In addition to the VBCPS academic curriculum, an Achievable Dream adopted the same curriculum, which provided additional instruction on ethics, etiquette, conflict resolution, STEM, mindfulness and meditation, and speaking green, which is standard business English. Finally, parents and students signed an educational contract with the program that outlined expectations and responsibilities, including ensuring daily attendance and following a student dress code, which included uniforms. Instructional staff selection occurred through joint interviews with the principal and an Achievable Dream representative. During 2017-2018, 63% of staff had a graduate level education, which was higher than the division level, which was 56%. Teacher retention from 17-18 to 18-19 was 88% for classroom teachers and 81% for all instructional staff. These percentages decreased from the previous year. In regards to professional learning and communication, 73% of instructional staff agreed there was sufficient professional development in the delivery of the program, and 55% agreed an Achievable Dream Academy had clear and consistent communication with staff in 17-18. There were 436 students enrolled at any point during the 17-18 school year. Students were primarily from the SeaTac Elementary School attendance zone. However, students could opt into the program from other attendance zones. Of the students, 62 attended from outside the SeaTac zone for the academy. This nearly offset the 68 students who opted out of the program by attending a nearby elementary school. To be included in the student outcome analyses, students must have attended at least half the year, which was 389 of the 436 students. In comparison to all elementary schools across the division, an Achievable Dream had a higher percentage of economically disadvantaged African American and Hispanic students, and a lower percentage of gifted Caucasian and Asian students, but was similar in other areas. An Achievable Dream Academy set student outcome goals in 5 areas related to achievement, discipline, and attendance. The measures for each goal are shown on the slide. Goals were evaluated in 2 ways for this presentation. First, by looking at the change from the year prior to implementation to 17-18, and second, by examining an Achievable Dream Academy students' outcomes in comparison to 3 matched groups of students from similar or nearby schools. This slide summarizes the patterns of results for each goal from the year prior to an Achievable Dream Academy implementation to 17-18. Arrows shown in green represent favorable results for the program, while red arrows represent areas that did not show improvements. Each number shows the amount of the increase or decrease. For reading achievement, with the exception of kindergarten and grade 4, all grades showed improvement in the percentage of students meeting grade level benchmarks in 17-18 compared to the year prior to an Achievable Dream Academy implementation. For example, in 2nd grade, there was a 14 percentage point increase in the percent of students who met the DRA benchmark, from 77% prior to an Achievable Dream Academy implementation to 91% in 17-18. However, at kindergarten, there was a 6 percentage point decline in the percent of students who met the DRA benchmark, from 90% prior to implementation to 84% in 17-18. Grades 3 and 5 showed improvement in math, with double-digit increases in the percentage of students who passed the SOL test in 17-18 compared to the year prior to an Achievable Dream Academy implementation. However, at grade 4, there was an 11 percentage point decline in the percent of students who passed the math SOL test in 17-18, from 82% prior to implementation to 71%. The percentage of grade 5 students who passed the science SOL test declined minimally to 74% in 17-18, and the percentage who passed the social studies test declined 8 percentage points from 84 to 76% in 17-18. For school-wide discipline measures for kindergarten through grade 5, there were favorable declines in the number of students with single and multiple suspensions and suspensions resulting from a major offense, ranging from 12 to 24 fewer students. There were also declines in referral and suspension rates. For example, the referral rate declined 12 percentage points from 17% prior to implementation to 5% in 17-18. For attendance, measures by grade level in the first row show that, with the exception of grade 4, the percentage of students with more than 5 absences showed a favorable decline at all grade levels. For example, at 2nd grade, there was a 23 percentage point decline in the percent of students with more than 5 absences, from 77% prior to implementation to 54% in 17-18. In addition, the school-wide daily attendance rate increased by 1% and the unexcused absence rate decreased by 2%. The second method of examining progress toward meeting goals was comparing an Achievable Dream Academy students' outcomes to 3 matched groups of students from other schools. An Achievable Dream Academy students outperformed at least 2 groups in reading achievement in all grades except grade 3, as well as with referral, out-of-school suspension, and unexcused absence rates. However, few differences that were observed were statistically significant. There were no patterns of an Achievable Dream Academy students outperforming the 3 groups in math achievement and science and social studies achievement. Stakeholders were asked their perceptions of student growth in each of the student goal areas. As shown in blue, at least 75% of instructional staff agreed that resources were provided that helped students improve across the academic areas shown on the slide. As shown in the orange bars, at least 95% of parents agree that their children improved in these areas. At least 89% of students agreed they were becoming better readers and math students. Between 67 and 71% of students agreed that they were becoming better science and social studies students. Several survey items were related to the discipline and attendance goal areas. In regards to student behavior, at least 85% of parents and 73% of students agreed that an Achievable Dream Academy helped improve students' behavior at school, self-control, and conflict management skills. However, between 31 and 36% of staff agreed an Achievable Dream Academy helped improve these areas. Additional staff survey results indicated concerns about the consistency of implementing discipline policies and holding students accountable for their behavior. In regards to attendance, the majority of stakeholders agreed that an Achievable Dream Academy increased students' desire to attend school. At least 90% of parents, students, and community partners were satisfied with the program, while 71% of staff were satisfied. Additionally, 96% of parents agreed that they would recommend the program to other families. Based on the contract, the additional cost of EBCPS could include operational costs as a result of the longer day and longer year, such as utilities, building maintenance, and transportation. The total additional cost was just under $40,000 in 17-18. And Achievable Dream Incorporated was responsible for paying for additional enhancements, needs for specific Achievable Dream programming, and certain costs beyond typical allocations. Overall, an Achievable Dream Incorporated spent just under $1.2 million during 17-18 supporting the program. 6 recommendations were made based on the comprehensive evaluation. The first recommendation is that an Achievable Dream Academy continue with modifications as reviewed in the following recommendations. The second recommendation is to review academic performance in Grade 4 Math and Grade 5 Science and Social Studies and develop plans to improve achievement in these areas. The third recommendation is to ensure consistency in communicating and applying discipline policies. The fourth recommendation is to implement new strategies to provide timely and informative communication to staff and to improve collaboration between instructional staff, administrators, and an Achievable Dream Academy. The fifth recommendation is to investigate the feasibility of changing the school from a B schedule school to an A schedule school. The final recommendation is to conduct an evaluation update during 2018-2019 focused on staff perceptions, matched group analyses for elementary students, and an update on the Achievable Dream Academy students who continued into the middle school program. At this time, Mr. Vincent Darby, principal of SeaTac Elementary School, and Dr. Amy Marcagiani, Vice President of Academics for Achievable Dream Incorporated, will provide the administration's response.
Good evening, Chairwoman Anderson, Vice Chair McDonald, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. SeaTac and Achievable Dream concurs with the recommendations in the evaluation report, including recommendation number 1 to continue the program with modifications. And Achievable Dream continuously seeks to improve the overall program for the benefit of all the stakeholders. Our full response to the recommendations was included in your agenda packet, and we will highlight several actions related to the recommendations. Regarding recommendation 2, related to academics, adjustments were made to the 4th grade teaching team for the 2018-2019 school year. And an Achievable Dream continues to work with the teachers and staff to develop strategies for students to set academic goals and improve study skills. In remediation and Saturday school, students are working with teachers based on the strengths of the teachers and those strengths that the teachers have to support the needs of the students in those areas of needs. Outreach programs and field trips are being scheduled to help address students' needs in the areas of science and social studies.
In response to recommendation number 3, SeaTac and Achievable Dream Academy provides a multi-tiered discipline process This process includes mediation, increased parental involvement in providing students with mentors and alternative classroom settings supervised by staff from the Achievable Dream. An Achievable Dream believes that the decline in discipline referrals and suspensions reflect the culture of high expectations and structure. However, the teacher survey data indicates a miscommunication in regards to the response to student behavior and discipline. To give the data some context, I had a family member involved in a life-threatening accident that took me away from my primary responsibility as principal for more than 4 months. I have to believe that this contributed to the breakdown in communication and some of the behavior challenges that we experienced last year. In addition to my being out because of promotions within the division and as well as other opportunities outside the division, we lost 2 tenured 4th grade teachers and had to replace them with long-term substitute teachers who did not have the experience in classroom instruction and management. These teachers were supported daily with our coaches and the school's permanent substitute. We believe the miscommunication last year is an outlier, as we have already put in work to ensure we are moving in the right directions. Moving forward to address the perception of teachers, CTAC has established the following committees to ensure that all staff members are aware of the steps instituted to establish a high-functioning learning environment. These committees include the Communication Committee, the Discipline Committee, and a reflection group focused on creating a safe place for students who are facing difficult situations and needs additional service to manage behavior. Regarding recommendation number 4, dealing with communication and collaboration, the Communication Committee that was formed in February 2018 will continue to meet during the 2018-19 school year. Staff communication surveys are being administered prior to the Communication Committee meetings. This would allow for the committee to address concerns and enhance the program's success. An Achievable Dream supports moving to an A school schedule and is willing to work with the school division to make this a reality. An Achievable Dream agrees with the recommendation for VBCPS to conduct an evaluation update during the 2018-19 and will continue to assist with data collection as needed. At this time, we are available to answer questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions? Ms. McLeod?
Thank you. This was a very thorough report. And you went back when you discussed and you made it clear with some of the recommendations and regarding, I was curious about the goals and the drop, especially in 4th grade. But Dr. Robertson knows it drives me nuts to see evaluating and numbers not comparing the child to the year before. I like to look at it diagonally, not across the board. You can't compare this year's 4th grader with last year's 4th grader. But you seem to recognize that it was the teaching long-term and substitutes and that impacted those numbers. So I'm glad to understand that better. But can you help me with the no patterns of out-achieving the other 3 programs and what that actually meant? And I will be in fairness say I have not read the full report, which is in our packet, but in one of the slides it said there were no patterns of out-achieving the other 3 programs. And I didn't understand how to what that meant.
Yeah, so we did analyses for comparable schools, and we saw that for those specific measures, they Achievable Dream students did not outperform the other students.
Did they underachieve? I'll ask it. Were they less than?
In some cases, yes. Yes.
Okay.
There was not a pattern across in at least 2 of the schools. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I think that the satisfaction only being at 71%, the principle that's why you're looking to improve was communication the problem with those teachers only being satisfied at 71%.
We do believe that that was the situation, and so we have done a number of things to try to increase that level of communication. And again, as I stated, that last year was an outlier year.
Sure.
The other thing that we wanted to mention as it relates to the comparable schools is that what we have done with our students as it relates to the same curriculum, the social emotional things
Right.
that we put in place, those are things that you probably can't quantify, but we believe that if you were to really look at and pull those things apart, you'll see a noticeable difference in terms of that particular curriculum.
Sure. And the last thing is, why A instead of B? Schedule.
Oh, well, right now we've been looking at some of the things that our teachers have really indicated. The B schedule allows us to be at school much later. We believe that we move to the A schedule. The A schedule allows us to be at school earlier, getting out earlier. We looked at it in terms of when we go to daylight saving times as well. Kids are getting home in the dark. We're also looking at if teachers are given the opportunity to be with the A schedule versus the B schedule, it gives them an opportunity to participate in more professional development opportunities within the division. So those are just a few points.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any other, Mr. Edwards?
I had the benefit of the same brief provided to the Achievable Dreams Task Force, and another element in Mrs. McLeod in terms of shifting the BA is believe CTAC. This would align you with Burton Eck across the street potentially. Right now, a student, the students are bused separately because the two schools that are adjacent are on different, and it might provide some savings in transportation. Is that correct?
I'm not really sure concerning
Okay,
the safety. I
okay.
know right at this point.
Transportation expert?
Yeah, right now our resources are pretty much maxed out at both the A and the B level. Converting CTEC to an A school would require us taking another elementary school somewhere in a geographic area and changing it to a B school.
Okay.
Just because of the efficiency of resources across all 4 tiers. And that's the other issue with the extended day, is that our resources are maxed out at Lynn Haven Middle School time. So if the earliest that we can dismiss students for their extended day program is 4:30 in the afternoon currently. And if they switch to an A school, we would still only be able to get resources there at 4:30. So they would, if they switch to an A school, they would just stay in school longer before we could actually transport them home.
Mrs. Felton?
Good evening, Dr. Darby and Ms. Bach. Thank you for that thorough presentation. You mentioned communication and collaboration that you're having there, and we know that communication is one of the most important things that we contribute to getting the message out. Like your community advisory board, I know you work closely with your community advisory board and being in touch with them as well, getting information out to the community. So could you tell me some of the components of your internal community collaboration team that you have, and does it mirror your community advisory board at all?
Well, with the Community Advisory Board, we try to update the board concerning initiatives, concerning data that we're collecting, and some of the things that we're looking to do in terms of information. The communication committee that we established at school, we looked at individuals and we looked at pretty much stakeholders within the school at all grade levels, teacher assistants, individuals through the school community, and we looked at how could we establish a multi-level ways of communicating with all staff members so that nothing is left without individuals within the school knowing what is expected and what is being done. So we just looked at a number of different opportunities just in terms of communicating. We did a survey with the staff member to determine from the staff ways that they prefer to be communicated to. We took that information. We also, within the office staff, divided the office team in terms of different members of the office staff having communication with grade level chairs to determine when field trips occurred so that if parents call, that have the information. So we looked at all areas of communication, and we tasked this communication committee to stay on top of making sure that we were communicating at the highest level to
everyone involved.
Thank you for the explanation. I'd just like to say too that it's refreshing when a leader takes ownership of things that are happening and you move forward on it. I commend you on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Felton.
Do we have any other discussion or questions? Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Ms. Anderson.
Our final informational item is the Policy Review Committee recommendations. Welcome, Mrs. Linetti.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, school board members, and Dr. Spence. I'm Cami Linetti, School Board Legal Counsel. Tonight I'll be presenting the recommendations from the Policy Review Committee from earlier this month. There are a number of policies coming up on this one. Your first one is Policy 456. This one is licensed personnel, the role of professional learning staff. This was significantly altered by, just updated, I think is a better term for this actually, by the Human Resource Department and the Department of School Leadership. I'm not sure that it totally changes what you have, but I think more accurately reflects what is expected of teaching staff in the 21st century. Our old policy hadn't been updated in many years, so the changes in there are significant on them. I'm not sure if I can actually answer the questions as to how they came to those. It'd be better to address that to Human Resources or to DOSL, but you will on the policy, so that you'd be able to follow it from there. Are there any questions on 456? There are no questions on 456. We will move on to 467. This is investigating and reporting alcohol and drug use. On there, again, as we mentioned, alcohol and drug use, that we do have required areas. We have mandated drug testing for certain areas, and we also have obligations to report students that we observe who are dealing with drug issues. All this policy is doing is clarifying for you exactly. I'm nice on this one. This doesn't significant change, but we do just more accurately reflects how we handle this. Are there any questions on policy 467? There are no questions on 467. We'll move on to policy 534. Again, section 5 has to do with student matters. This one is student conduct. This is your general policy on student conduct. You have many policies that deal with the student conduct as well as regulations on this area. Again, we're clarifying a little bit more in this section what our expectations are on students on this. There's some changes generally to this first section on generally. We're updating some reflection on section D having to do with school buses. One of our regulations will deal with school buses on there. What we've also done in this section, as you'll see coming forward, we removed threat assessments. We made it its own regulation policies, and we've strengthened our threat policies. So we've not gotten rid of threat assessment. We simply moved it to a different policy and regulation section. Are there any questions on policy 534? If there are no questions on policy 534, we're going to look at regulation 534.1. 534.1, again, just to remind the public, unlike other regulations, these Code of Virginia requires that the school board approve regulations involving discipline of students. So that's why you'll be looking at this particular regulation. This one has to do with conduct of students on school buses and vehicles. The first section we broadened out because you have students on more than buses. You have different types of vehicles. We use the white vans. We use smaller buses on there. We also use independent vehicles by staff members or students. Sometimes we also have to rent out motor vehicles from them. So we just expanded the definition of buses to include any vehicle that we might be using for students on there. And again, talked down in section B5, talking about discipline. We talked about disruptive conduct on there and recordings of students. One of the issues we have sometimes is that our buses capture on the cameras, we capture the conduct. You see this in student discipline cases a lot. If we have the video on there, getting our bus drivers in here is difficult during the day when we have as you heard multiple times tonight, we have problems getting bus drivers on there and they're pretty packed up. To bring them into a student discipline hearing, either at the hearing level at Laskin Road or before the school board, seems to be an ongoing issue for us. We've just added a section indicating that if you have a recording of it, the recording can stand in instead of having to have the bus driver come to verify that the recording is accurate. Most of the changes are simply minor changes under regulation 534.1. 534.2 has to do with cheating and plagiarizing. This particular section did not get a lot of updates on it. It had a formatting changes you'll see on there, just clarifying some of the formatting issues on there, and addition into section 4, having to cite back to the Code of Student Conduct. Again, not a lot of significant changes to this particular regulation. Policy 536 had minor amendments to this. This is your general policy on conduct invoking punitive actions. We updated some of the regulation citations and some of the applicable references to minor students, but there are no significant changes to Regulation 5 or Policy 536. Looking at Regulation 536.3, this read hazing, assault and battery, profane, obscene, abusive language or conduct and bullying. We added in fighting. Fighting is a separate category on there. We want to clarify that. So the only substantial changes you'll see will be under Section C with profane and abusive language. On there, we have added in the term substantially materially disrupts the educational or the work environment. You'll remember we've talked before in threat areas, this has been an issue for us, complying with the current case law and how the courts are looking at, and they're particularly looking at that term substantially material. So when a case is brought forward, they should be identifying what is substantial material disruption to the educational environment. We've also pointed out that sometimes it may not stop the students from learning, but it does stop the staff from doing their job, and we've added that in as a work section. There are no other significant changes to this regulation. Under Regulation 536.4, this has to do with weapons, explosive, fireworks. It looks like there are more substantial changes than there are to this. We're really simply formatting. We added a general introduction to this particular area on there. The rest of the changes are actually pretty minor, just clarifying some sections, renumbering sections on there, but there are no significant changes otherwise to this particular regulation. Regulation 536.5, trespass upon school property, vehicles, or buildings on there. Rather than cite some old language that we used to use on that, we simply said students will be disciplined as outlined in the Code of Student Conduct and the discipline guidelines. And other than a couple formatting issues, there are no significant changes to this regulation. Policy 537, reporting data on school violence and crimes. There are only minor changes. If you're not familiar with the requirements that the Virginia Department of Education has, the Office of Student Leadership has to, and the school division has to report certain types of crime that appear on both state reports and school safety reports on there. We needed to update this language to reflect current changes on there, but there are simply no significant changes to this particular regulation. This regulation deals with what we have to report to the state and how we maintain some of that data. But again, there are no significant changes to this, just current compliance with regulation at the state level. Regulation 542.1 has to do with property damage and theft on there. The change in this particular area happens under Section B, which talks about a theft on students, administration as appropriate, report alleged theft to law enforcement for appropriate action. Students, again, will be disciplined in accordance with the Code of Student Conduct. That's not a change in how we handle it. We just thought that language more appropriately reflected how we deal with theft issues. Jumping over to Policy 721, as you remember last year, we did significant changes in 721 having to do with our citizens advisory committees on there. We created a new policy. We combined all our different citizens advisory committees under regulations under Policy 721. It came to our attention when looking at that when dealing with the ad hoc strategic planning committee that this particular committee we don't necessarily bring to the school board. They are appointed by the school board upon recommendation of the superintendent. Unlike some of our other citizens advisory committees where we have an open application and we take that in, this particular committee comes to you based on the superintendent going out and identifying different committee members and staff members that are important for that. As you saw earlier today, they bring those recommendations to you. We wanted to make sure that that was clarified, that that process is slightly different than how you handle your other citizens advisory committees. So that is the only change at this time to Policy 721 is making sure that you understood that the strategic ad hoc strategic planning committee was appointed slightly differently. So that doesn't change significantly. That just more accurately reflects how you actually appoint that committee. Are there any questions on the policies and regulations at this time? No.
Do we have any standing committee reports? Mr. McDowell?
Thank you. The Legislative Committee met this afternoon and has approved a draft for a workshop by the board, which will happen this evening. So I look forward to doing that.
Okay, are there any other? Mr. Edwards?
Just for the record, the Audit Committee met last week and reported directly to the board on the results of a project they've been working on. And we will meet again later this month for our regular November meeting.
Okay, for the record, when is that regular meeting?
Monday.
This coming
the
Monday?
19th.
Thank you. Are there any other? So the audit committee meeting will be the 20th, is that correct? Okay, all right, just,
20th at 1 p.m. for the audit committee.
thank you. Do we have any, Mrs. Rye?
Right, so to piggyback on that, the policy committee, in view of this week's VSBA conference in Williamsburg, is meeting next Monday. We're the ones meeting Monday, the 19th at 1 o'clock.
Right. Mrs. Riggs?
The Sister Cities Committee, is waiting for applications. They are due by the 16th of this month for youth ambassador. So they've been sent to all the schools. We've talked to the principals and guidance departments. So we're hoping to get a significant amount in for to review and look at to see who will be our next youth ambassador.
Thank you. Do we have any other committee reports? Okay. That concludes our formal meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers on non-agenda items?
No, ma'am.